depicted in the bottom 3 photographs as some of the jewelry that was recovered today, as well as what you see particularly in that middle photo, which was a large amount of Indian currency. It's important to note that a number of these families had secured their valuable items in safes inside their home. Some of those safes themselves weighed as much as 400 pounds, and the thieves removed those, in some places dropping them from a second-floor window. They typically entered the home through the second floor. We did recover in the top right-hand picture today, that's a ladder that was recovered at one of the places. It is our belief, based upon the investigation, that the thieves came and went with their own ladders. They would pretty quickly gain access to second-floor windows and remove the items from the home, including, as I mentioned, sometimes the safes. You'll also see in one of these pictures the shovel, which we believe to be the shovel that was being held by the individual in the first photograph. Also depicted in the map on the far right are locations across Massachusetts where we know these robberies to have taken place. This really comes about as the result of what you see here today: coordinated law enforcement effort, a persistent focus on what we were looking at, developing the themes that we knew about the sophistication, the use of these tools, and the targeting of what was happening. I want to really thank all of our law enforcement partners, both from Massachusetts and Rhode Island. I particularly want to thank the members of the community, especially folks whose homes were broken into. For some, it has been a long time. We have met with them on a number of occasions. They were truly traumatized, and in some cases, really robbed of pieces of their heritage by these events. We have assured them throughout that investigation the level of work that was being put into this case. Today is really the fruition of that. In speaking to the public safety piece of that, in addition to the items that you see depicted in the photographs, we did recover a number of firearms in the course of the execution of those warrants today at the various locations. So we will, over the next days and weeks, be putting out additional information, again, as I said, as we sort through, as we are able to match things back to breaks that occurred in various places, particularly in Middlesex County. It is my pleasure now to turn the podium over to Lieutenant Colonel Sear from the State Police, who will address you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Mark Sear. I'm a Lieutenant Colonel with the Massachusetts State Police. I oversee our Division of Homeland Security and Preparedness. On behalf of Massachusetts State Police, Colonel Jack Mon, I wish to convey the pleasure we take in being able to seek justice for the victims of this criminal enterprise. The group that we have dismantled today specifically targeted members of the Asian American and Indian American communities across multiple states. Today we are able to seek justice for those victims thanks to the strong coordinated efforts of the Middlesex District Attorney's Office, 39 city and town police departments across 4 states, the Rhode Island State Police, who led today's operation as 4 of the targets were there this morning, the Connecticut State Police, and the Massachusetts State Police Fusion Center and its Mass Crime Net program. Mass Crime Net is a program based in the Commonwealth Fusion Center. The program's goal is to foster collaboration and cooperation among various departments, not only within the Commonwealth, but also across state lines. The program provides a platform for law enforcement officials to work together and share information which can help them solve cases faster, more efficiently, and across jurisdictions. Almost a year ago today, another state police mass crime net investigation resulted in the dismantling of a massive catalytic converter theft ring. Once again, this case highlights the dedication of our law enforcement partners to work collaboratively to take down complex criminal networks. Just last year's catalytic converter case brought to justice a ring of, just as last year's catalytic converter case brought to justice a ring of conspirators whose thefts cost private citizens and commercial entities cumulative losses of more than $2 million. The theft crew we arrested today stole countless items of great monetary, emotional, and cultural value. from families in multiple states and did so by violating the sanctity of their homes. Such brazen criminal actions will not be tolerated in our communities. I once again commend the hard work, dedication, and collaboration of all the law enforcement agencies involved in today's operation. Our commitment to ensuring the safety and security of all residents of all Massachusetts communities remains unwavering. Thank you.
We'll now be joined by Acting Lincoln Police Chief Sean Kennedy.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Sean Kennedy. I'm the acting police chief with the town of Lincoln. There's many of us in this room that have been waiting for this day, but none more than the South Asian community. They can breathe a sigh of relief that these 4 individuals have been placed in custody. This case involved, like the Lieutenant Colonel said, 39 plus communities, detectives working hand in hand, putting in hundreds of hours of dedicated work to come to where we are today. It truly was a collaborative effort, and we certainly couldn't do that without the cooperation of especially the Commonwealth Fusion Centers, the troopers assigned to the Fusion Center, as well as troopers assigned to the Middlesex District Attorney's Office. And I especially want to thank the chiefs that are here today, the Rhode Island State Police, the Rhode Island local agencies who helped us in this investigation, but also Chief Dennis Linehan for his commitment to resources to this case, again, to bring it to where we are today, as well as the leadership of DA Ryan, assigning an amazing assistant district attorney to this case, in DA Ryan herself, meeting with the victims, listening to their how their case impacted them. It really put a face to it, and to have the conversation with them today, to let them know that those involved have been brought to justice is again why we all do this job. So again, thank you so much for your commitment to this case.
Thank you, Chief. And keeping in mind that we are very early in the investigation, and in terms of just making arrests a couple of hours ago, I'm happy to take a few questions.
Steve, just to clarify motive, when we were covering this months ago, I think a lot of us thought this was a hate crime, possibly. But you're saying these thieves targeted these homes based on a stereotype, essentially, assuming there'd be jewels inside?
Well, if we define a hate crime as you do something to someone because of who they are,
Right.
then this fits that definition, because they looked at individual communities, made determinations about what they thought would be in those houses, and then targeted those houses.
So will you be charging them with?
Those are things we're looking at in terms of as we develop the evidence and look at what we found. But as I say, part of the concern we had, and certainly the concern the community had, is borne out by things like the temple lists that were found during some of the searches this morning.
Was there anything in particular that helped break the case, considering how sophisticated they seem to be with evading some, at least, of the digital footprint?
We always like to have that. This was really a case of persistent, dogged work. I think that's a piece that, we'll certainly be conveying to the community. I really want to convey to the public. Many times something happens. Results are not immediate. People think there's not being effort put into it. Effort doesn't always equal immediate results. And in terms of these folks were sophisticated, they were able to dodge a lot of the other kinds of things that we would normally use to apprehend somebody, cameras, phones, things like that. And it just took a lot of really good, determined, long-term work to get to this place.
So how did you actually make a connection to them?
So that's a piece of the investigation that, is still ongoing. We'll be talking about more when they eventually come back from Rhode Island and appear in court.
You mentioned that they would find out that some of these families were parts of members of temples. I don't know if you could shed any more light on that. Were these found publicly? I mean, did they?
We found what appear to be some sort of membership or attendance sheets or whatever, that sort of thing, that, you know, would indicate on a particular day certain families or individuals were expected to be at the temple.
We don't know how they got those.
No, we don't know that.
Is there, I think we know, but what are your thoughts about them targeting these families on this stereotype and this presumption?
Well, you know, as I said at the beginning, having your house broken into is terrible no matter how it happens. The invasion is really so personal. When it is happening, not just because you happen to live on a particular street and all of the houses are being broken into, but it's happening because of who you are, because of the groups you're associated with, where you are going around your religious beliefs. That just makes it that much more traumatic. And that is really how we have approached this investigation, with that in mind. Yeah.
Now that you know, and these families know why they were targeted and how, what is your advice to them? Because they're not going to stop going to their cultural and religious events and their practices. How can they best protect themselves?
We have met in a lot of the community meetings that we've done, talking to folks about, you know, one, and this is an unfortunate and inconvenient reality, one thing that we've talked with the community about is a lot of that jewelry not being kept in the home. You know, I understand that particularly around certain seasons, for instance, the wedding season, folks want to wear that jewelry. It means a great deal to them. It's family jewelry. None of us, would want to be going to the bank, to the safe deposit box every day to get the jewelry. But the reality is, what we did see was taking the precautions some families had taken, having a pretty heavy-duty safe and keeping things in the safe was not enough, because members of this group were literally removing the safe and dropping it out a second-floor window. So we've talked about, you know, being careful who you share information with. Same information that we give around breaks, being careful what you put on Twitter about where you're going on vacation, you know, letting too many people know when a house is going to be empty, employing some kinds of security, things like that. Talking to your neighbors, you know, having a neighbor who says, if I see somebody pull in and maybe have a ladder around your house, I know you're not there. You know, we live in communities in some cases where the houses are not all that close together. People don't necessarily know their neighbors. I don't know if you're having work done at your house unless you tell me. I'm away, there shouldn't be anybody at the house, that sort of thing.
You had mentioned that they're believed to be connected to a gang in Rhode Island. Why just these four, and is this gang known for home invasions?
We are continuing to look at those pieces. What we do know is the breaks that began in 2018 initially seem to have begun in the part of Massachusetts closer to the Rhode Island border, and they eventually worked their way up into Middlesex County. So obviously, you can only target a home probably once. If you continue to do this over a period of time, you have to keep moving to new communities. And it was when last summer we began to see a lot of these breaks in our county. And then really some amazing work by folks in our office, by the police departments, of starting to reach out to other communities and put together that connection between breaks.
On that note, can you explain what happens next investigation-wise? Just, there's so many towns, these alleged criminals are in Rhode Island. Who takes the lead? You know, when are they going to be charged? And
they've been indicted here. Yes, they are all facing 95 counts related to the breaks. So they will, I expect, fairly shortly be brought back from Rhode Island, be arraigned on the charges here. The cases will proceed here.
Here being
Here in Middlesex County,
Okay.
yes.
As far as finding some of this jewelry, obviously I assume it's too early to take an inventory of everything.
Right.
But were you starting to see it come up as being sold, or?
That's a piece of our investigation at the places that we're looking at. We'll talk a little bit more about that when they come up here and go to court.
You believe that there is, you know, you mentioned four. When you think of a gang, we think of a more sophisticated, larger, wider network. Do you believe there is still more people out there that may be linked to their crimes?
That's why the investigation is ongoing, yes. Thank you all. Thank you for coming.
Forgive me, when you guys say soon, do you mean like today? Will that be right?
No, not today.
Okay.
Yeah.
And 95 indictments
Each?
for all four of them, or
Yes.
each of them?